Describe as Gaddafi's residence being taken by the protesters?
This Gaddafi residence is the camp. It's a military camp of militia that protects Gaddafi, and there is a lot of weapons inside this residence and camp.
How many did you say are inside?
I don't know the number how many inside, but it's the biggest camp of Gaddafi in Benghazi.
So that is an important move by the protesters. Would you say that protesters are outnumbering Gaddafi supporters in Benghazi now?
Now, as I can see it, there is no one supports Gaddafi in Benghazi. Even that the military troops are with the people now. The fight that happened between the army itself, the supporters of Gaddafi, and the army that supported the people in Benghazi.
So you're also saying there have been defections from the army?
What?
You're talking about people from Gaddafi's army now putting down their weapons or joining the protesters. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's happened earlier. It's called what we can call it, special troops or something like this. And
has there been any more firing tonight by soldiers on protesters?
Now there is no firing, but maybe 1 hour ago the last fight finished. But through the day there was a lot of gunfire, Kalashnikovs, the heavy guns that used to to turn down the flights, airplanes, and tanks, and a lot of heavy weapons.
Who is in control then, if this is a fair question, who is in control of the streets in Benghazi now?
The people itself. I was taking a tour in Benghazi. Every traffic light, the people is standing in the middle and organizing the traffic. You can see people outside their homes and controlling their areas.
And where are the troops?
The troops, I don't know, but I think they are still in the camp or they went to the airport. I think there is a fight in the airport now.
There is a fight at the airport? You mean firing at the airport?
I think. Some people told us that now they are going to the airport.
But let's reiterate, in Benghazi, you say protesters are now in control of all the streets in the city?
Yes. This is how I see it and how I took the tour in Benghazi.
And are people celebrating on the streets? What's their attitude?
Yes, they are celebrating, especially in front of the main court in Benghazi, the north of Benghazi main court. They are there and celebrating.
Right,
and you can see cars around the city with flashlights and celebrating in their cars.
All right, Yasid, I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, let's move across to America, where more protests are planned in the U.S. state of Wisconsin in a continuing battle between the governor and public employees there. Wisconsin's Governor Scott Walker said more than 10,000 public workers could lose their jobs if unions don't go along with his budget plan. Tom Ackerman reports.
The battle lines have been drawn in Wisconsin, a pioneer in recognizing public employees' right to bargain through their unions. But now Governor Scott Walker and his fellow Republicans in control of the legislature intend to revoke that right, along with cutting benefits. Giving up collective bargaining, say the workers, is a concession they will not make.
This is not about money. It's never been about money. It's about the Republican Party trying to squash the Democrats, trying to squash union rights.
The unions see another threat to their survival in Walker's plan to force workers to vote every year on the union's power to collect dues.
And they can continue to voluntarily have those union dues that write the check out, give it to that union to make their case, but they shouldn't be forced to be a part of this if that's not what they want to do.
The Wisconsin showdown is the fiercest battle in a nationwide power struggle, as other recently elected Republican governors also confront their public sector workers, traditionally championed by Democrats. In Ohio, where Governor John Kasich has even antagonized police and firefighter unions, which had backed his election. He wants to take away their collective bargaining rights, too.
Management has no control. They can't control their costs. And when they can't control their costs, they bankrupt our communities. We can't have that.
We must and we will shrink our government.
And in New Jersey, Republican Chris Christie and public school teachers are at each other's throats over pensions and health benefits.
Remember, this is the group that prayed for me to die. So, to say that we're not on the best terms at the moment probably would be an understatement.
Amid America's economic reverses, the union's favorability ratings are at an historic low, with one recent poll showing them even less popular than corporations. When the choice is between higher taxes or concessions from the unions, taxpayers appear for now to be placing a higher priority on their own pocketbooks. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera, Washington.
A series of attacks on taxi drivers and their passengers have left 12 people dead in the Mexican resort of Acapulco. Police say 4 suspects were arrested. Taxi drivers have often been targeted for extortion or recruited by gangs to act as lookouts to transport drugs. 10 disabled children have died in a fire at an orphanage in Estonia. The blaze broke out in the wooden building in Haapsalu on Sunday afternoon while the children were sleeping. 37 children and 2 adults were in the orphanage, but many were wheelchair bound and they couldn't get away from the flames. Estonia will mark the tragedy with a day of mourning tomorrow. The party of Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel has suffered major losses in critical local elections. Her CDU party only got 20% of the vote in Hamburg, while the rival SPD party emerged with around 50%. Male hairdressers in Gaza are appealing to human rights groups to help them because they blame Hamas for banning them from working. They say they were raided by policemen who ordered them to stop cutting women's hair. The hairdressers claim they face jail and a $5,000 fine if they go back to work. Still to come this hour in sport, find out how co-host Sri Lanka fared in their opening Cricket World Cup match against Canada. The best of the action to come next.
Taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news.
If the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
To those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines.
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, Al Jazeera English showcases films from across the Al Jazeera network.
We are now heading in towards Palestinian waters.
2 small boats set out from Greece to challenge the siege of Gaza. A dangerous act of defiance in the face of injustice.
They're only trying to scare us.
An extraordinary act of solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Al Jazeera World, at this time.